SKOL Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fans, it is a hectic day in Minnesota. The team is already looking at tough roster decisions. A major defensive piece tied to a $30 million deal is firmly on the potential cut list. The offense finally looks like it can breathe again, with younger players gaining confidence. On the other side, the Vikings are dealing with harsh words from Giants coach Mike Kafka, comments that clearly stirred things up. And at the end of it all, there is a health update that completely changes the mood for Sunday. That last one hits hard for anyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. Now, before we dive into these stories one by one, let me say something real quick. Subscribe to the channel. It is free, and it helps this project stay alive. Drop a like as well. That tells YouTube to push this video to more fans, and use the comments like a stadium conversation. This is where the voice of the Vikings fan base truly matters. Let's start with this one because it sets the tone for everything that follows. A tough call is coming on the defensive side, and the name at the center of it is Javon Hargrave. The same Hargrave who arrived with buzz, a heavy contract, and high expectations. Now, all signs point to his time in Minnesota possibly ending when this season wraps up. The reasons are not complicated. Money, age, and production that never fully matched the price tag. The numbers simply do not work. The team is staring at a massive salary cap hole for the 2026 season, somewhere around $36 million. Once the season slipped away, the front office started evaluating the roster without emotion. Hargrave landed right in that spotlight. He is set to turn 33 years old. Yes, he has flashed as a pass rusher at times, but 3.5 sacks from a player carrying that kind of deal does not move the needle. Against the run, he has been average, nothing more. When the investment is that high, the standard rises. He did not clear it. That is not personal. That is how the NFL operates. Moving on from him would free up roughly $11 million. In Minnesota, that kind of flexibility matters, especially with other holes needing attention, and that is where the debate starts among fans. If Hargrave goes, who steps in? The name gaining the most traction is Jalen Redmond, a player who began quietly, almost unnoticed. Now he is a starter. His snap count jumped, his play improved, his grades look solid, but there is a catch. Redmond is heading toward free agency. He will cost more, not top-of-the-market money, but definitely more than before. Along with him, Levi Drake Rodriguez has shown progress, and rookie Elijah Williams is viewed as a developmental piece. Still, potential alone does not anchor an interior defensive line. The coaching staff knows it. They still need a disruptive presence inside, someone who forces double teams and wrecks game plans. And the conversation does not stop there. Jonathan Allen is part of it too. Big contract, production well below expectations, low evaluations compared to his peers. The difference is that his deal is tougher to escape. A cut is possible, but it is complicated, maybe requiring a post-June designation. Bottom line, the entire defensive interior could look very different in 2026. This is the kind of discussion you only get when you look at the team like a true Vikings fan, not just through spreadsheets. Some want to hold on, others want a full reset. What would you do with Hargrave? Keep him or turn the page, and stay right here because the next story completely shifts the vibe. Out goes the cap cutter mindset. In comes real offensive hope. You know that moment when you watch a game and think, okay, this kid is starting to get it. That is exactly where J.J. McCarthy is right now, and he said it himself, plainly, that the game has slowed down for him. Dramatically, that is music to the ears of anyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. After back-to-back wins against the Commanders and the Cowboys, he walked off the field with a different presence. 6 total touchdowns across those 2 games. And it was not just about the numbers, it was how he played. McCarthy explained that a deeper understanding of Kevin O'Connell's system made the biggest difference. When a quarterback stops burning mental energy, wondering where routes are breaking, he gains those split seconds that save plays. And in the NFL, half a second is an eternity. He watched the Dallas film and said everything felt in sync, on time, no hesitation. When his vision was blocked by the line, he stayed smart. He distributed the ball. He kept plays alive, no forced heroics. Protection was another huge factor. Against Dallas, he was not sacked a single time. 0. That came after taking 9 sacks across his previous 2 starts. The adjustment, in his words, was knowing where his outlets were and where to move when the pocket collapsed. Not just escaping, but escaping with purpose, toward space, toward active routes. That is the kind of growth that matters more than flashy stats. It is what separates quarterbacks who survive from quarterbacks who lead offenses. You can feel him starting to communicate with the game. Of course, fans in purple and gold raise the fair question. Those defenses were bad, and they are not wrong. Washington and Dallas have struggled. The next opponent, the New York Giants, is also near the bottom in yards and points allowed. On paper, it sets up for another productive Sunday, but the earlier tape still exists. Against the Ravens, Bears, and Packers, McCarthy struggled. That is where the real test comes in. Confidence is one thing. Sustaining it under pressure is another. 2 measuring sticks are coming. One this week against the Giants, and a massive one on Christmas Day when the Lions come to Minneapolis. That is the reality. Optimism with caution. The player is improving. The system is clicking. But the NFL always sends the bill. And since we are already talking Giants, the next story involves them too. And it comes with comments that hit a nerve. Sunday brings Vikings versus Giants at US Bank Stadium, but the biggest attention grabber was what Mike Kafka said this week. Yes, that Mike Kafka, now serving as New York's interim head coach after Brian Daboll was let go. He did not sugarcoat anything. His tone carried respect, but also a warning. There is history here. This is the 4th straight season these teams have met, including postseason play. Minnesota is 1-2 in the last 3 matchups. That still stings. Kafka went straight to the obvious challenge. Facing Brian Flores' defense is not a walk in the park. He talked about constantly changing looks, coverages shifting on every snap, heavy blitzes, then sudden drops into deep coverage with 8 defenders. In simple fan terms, blink and the defense looks different. That creates serious problems for young quarterbacks. The most telling part was his focus on what he called get back on track calls. The plays designed to stabilize an offense after getting punched. That kind of preparation matters, and honestly, beating a prepared opponent feels better than beating a lost one. Kafka also had praise for J.J. McCarthy. He mentioned pre-draft visits and described him as sharp with a good personality, operating fast and aggressively. When that comes from the other sideline, it means the noise is real. The league is paying attention. There is another layer here too. This game puts Jackson Dart in the same frame as McCarthy. Given how often these teams cross paths, this could be a long-running matchup. Both teams are out of the playoff picture, which turns Sunday into a showcase, a perception game. A chance to end the year with momentum. From a fan's view, when an opposing coach spends this much time talking about Flores and McCarthy, he is saying he knows where the danger lies. And if New York knows, Minnesota better be ready to set the tone early. No preseason feel. Real intensity. Even in a battered season. If you like this kind of straight talk, stay with me, because the next story messes with Sunday in a frustrating way. The kind that wipes out a smile fast. And before we get there, drop a comment and tell me this. Do you think Flores overwhelms Kafka, or does this game get tricky? Because up next is a name that came out of nowhere and might shake up the offense. There are players you forget about, and then one day you ask if they even exist anymore. Well, he does. Gavin Bartholomew is back on the Vikings' radar. The rookie tight end, taken in the 6th round, finally had his practice window opened after a back injury wiped out most of his year. It may sound minor, but for an offense searching for flexibility, small details become weapons. Many fans in purple and gold had already accepted that Bartholomew would not see the field in 2025. He was placed on the PUP list back in August and stayed in recovery mode ever since. Now the team made its move. The rule is simple: 3 weeks to practice and prove it. If he is not activated within that window, his season is done. With only 3 games left, this becomes a rapid-fire audition. Either he shows something or he fades from the conversation. His profile is intriguing. At Pittsburgh, he was reliable. 38 catches, 322 yards, and 4 touchdowns in his final college season. He is 22 years old. He stands 6 feet 4 inches tall and weighs around 260 pounds. The body fits the league. What remains is whether the speed of the pro game overwhelms him. Where can he help? Short situations first. Tight ends are safety valves when pockets collapse. Quick targets over the middle or in the flat can bail quarterbacks out. He could also help in the run game if he blocks with conviction. McCarthy has leaned on his tight ends when he needs fast answers. A rookie who handles the basics with confidence can change a rotation. Reality check, though. TJ Hawkinson and Josh Oliver are locked in. Bartholomew's path is as a depth option, possibly a 3rd tight end, plus special teams work. That leads to roster math. If he is activated, someone likely leaves. Ben Sims and Ben Urasek sit squarely on that bubble. Sims arrived during a stretch of need. Urasek is an undrafted rookie who has contributed in limited snaps. Minnesota almost never dresses 5 tight ends on game day. One of them would likely be waived, then possibly brought back on the practice squad. The concern is preparation. Bartholomew never had a full NFL camp, no steady reps. That matters. The coaching staff will judge his health and trust level. If he is not ready for contact, he will not suit up. Simple as that. But the pressure is fair pressure. Perform or disappear. If it works, the team finds a cheap piece for 2026. If not, it becomes another draft gamble that did not pay off, and fans rarely forget those. Brace yourself, because the next story is not about opportunity. It is about injuries, limited practices, and surgeries, and that determines Sunday before kickoff. Let's get straight to what impacts the game the most. Thursday's injury report, and it delivers mixed emotions. A small sigh of relief, followed by concern. Start with the positives. Ryan Kelly returned to practice in a limited role while dealing with a knee issue. Brian O'Neill also showed up limited because of a heel problem. When two linemen like that are back on the field, even partially, the offense feels it immediately, especially with McCarthy needing a clean pocket to sustain his growth. If protection breaks down, development stalls. The issue sits on the left side. Christian Darrisaw missed practice again, second straight day. His situation is complicated because it blends load management with real uncertainty. He is still working back from the ACL tear he suffered in October of 2024. There have been weeks all season where Thursdays are rest days for him, so a missed practice does not automatically mean disaster. But it is impossible to ignore that he already missed a game and declined to answer whether he will play again this season. That hangs in the locker room. Fans feel it. Then come the confirmed losses. Jonathan Greenard is headed for shoulder surgery and is done for the year. Josh Metellus also underwent shoulder surgery and his season is over. Two starters, two emotional leaders. The defense loses pressure, communication, and edge. For anyone who lives and breathes Vikings football, that is a gut punch. The irony does not stop there. Javon Hargrave missed practice on both Wednesday and Thursday with a thigh injury, right as his future became a hot topic. Jalen Naylor was limited again with a back issue after that touchdown against Dallas. He finished the game, but the team is clearly managing him carefully. On the Giants' side, there is damage too. Evan Neal practiced Wednesday, then became a non-participant Thursday with neck and hamstring issues. Kayvon Thibodeau remains sidelined with a shoulder injury. If Thibodeau sits, their pass rush suffers. If Neal sits, protection breaks down. It becomes a game of who is less battered. The matchup itself is tempting. The Giants' defense ranks near the bottom in yards and points allowed. Their biggest weakness is against the run. They give up 153.6 rushing yards per game. If there is ever a moment for Minnesota to establish the ground game and ease pressure on McCarthy, this is it. But the uncomfortable question remains. With this injury list, who can maintain consistency for 4 full quarters? Sundays punish improvisation, especially with a patched-up roster. All of it together, the rookie return, the looming cap decisions, and the health issues, leads to one lingering thought. What version of the Vikings is about to emerge over these final 3 weeks? I will be honest, I have seen plenty of Vikings seasons end on a thin line, and this one feels different. It is not just about losses. It is about being forced to choose a direction. On defense, the Javon Hargrave discussion is not about one player. It is about money, age, and cold decisions. Jonathan Allen's contract is under scrutiny. Jonathan Greenard and Josh Metellus are already done for the year. That changes the identity of the defense instantly. There is no hiding it. On offense, there is light. J.J. McCarthy looks freer, reads are quicker, decisions come faster, and the return of Gavin Bartholomew signals a willingness to evaluate who belongs moving forward. It is a lab environment, but with pride. No one wants to be a punchline. The hard truth is that health controls everything. Darrisaw's status reshapes the plan. Kelly and O'Neill returning in limited fashion offer hope, not certainty. Against the Giants, the path to controlling the game on the ground is there. If Minnesota cannot take advantage of that, deeper questions follow. Here is the bold statement. These games are not about saving 2025. They are about identifying who deserves to carry purple and gold when expectations rise in 2026. Players who shy away now fade later. Players who grow in chaos become the foundation. Now it is your turn. Drop a comment. This space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. Would you clean house on the defensive line now, or give it another year? And with McCarthy, do you believe the switch has flipped, or is this just a stretch against weak defenses? Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings. Let's go.